All right, there he is, locked and loaded and ready to go. Hopefully, you're better prepared than Mike McDaniel is.
I might be a little bit of the same preparation, man. We'll
Well,
see. It's a crazy Tuesday already.
That was pretty wacky to watch how he got absolutely dominated in that game and got smoked. I mean, I watched the game again yesterday, and I just don't cam this. I give a lot of credit to the players because they had to make the plays, okay? And Matt Milano was, I mean, a monster, dude.
Yeah.
And when you're at a sports bar, you don't really get to watch it like you really need to. And yesterday I got to watch it the way I needed to watch it. And brother, he schemed perfectly how to stop the offense and slow them down. Your thoughts on Mike McDaniel not being able to overcome the Bills, and then at the same time, what are his options on the offensive line?
Yeah, well, look, it's not just Mike McDaniel not able to overcome the Bills. It's the entire Dolphins franchise, Big O.
That's right.
They've played Josh Allen 12 times since 2018 when he entered the draft. They only have 2 wins over him. The first win was his first game against them. Some crazy play that Josh Allen threw a long ball and it dropped in the front of the end zone to his tight end. I think it was Dwayne Allen, if I remember that correctly. And then, the game last September that the Dolphins won here at home. That's the only 2 times the Dolphins have beaten the Bills in the past 12 games. And so we're talking about 5-6 years of Josh Allen just whooping their you-know-what.
Yep.
So it's a franchise problem. It's not a Mike McDaniel problem, and he's the one that's kind of in charge of it now. But this is a franchise problem up and down, man. That team in Buffalo has been kicking their you-know-what for the past 5-6 years.
Well, by the way, Safid, it's not just a Buffalo thing. It's a Miami thing. And it's been going on for decades now.
That's very much true, too. Yes. If it
never step up in big moments against big teams.
Mm-hmm.
They rarely ever win. And when they do, it's what you just said. It's just a fluke. It's a fluke win because there's no substance behind it because you can't consistently beat better teams. You can't have a good record against better teams. So when you got Philadelphia coming up and you got Kansas City, and just like in years past, whether it's Jimmy Johnson getting thoroughly embarrassed or Dave Wannstedt in the playoffs or owned by the Patriots or whatever it is, it's been like that now for decades. It's not just a Bills thing. It's any of the better teams on your schedule. The Dolphins fold like a cheap tent 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, I have to agree with that one, Big O. Look, it's a franchise that is very incompetent and winning when you look at the grand scheme of things. They've only made the playoffs 3 times in the past 21 years, right? And the last time was last year. Before that was 2016. Before that was 2008. We're in 2023 right now. The Dolphins are trying to get to postseason back-to-back times for the first time since, the early 2000s, early 2000s. I'm literally 2000 and 2001. This is something that, the Dolphins have to really figure out here, how they play against the big teams. Like you mentioned, the Eagles and the Chiefs are coming up this season. It's a good thing you don't have to play the 49ers again. But this is something that the Dolphins have to come to terms with. Are they good enough, or are they just a 500 team like we spoke about, Big O? They were, I believe, 22 and 20 or something like that the last 2 seasons, right? They've lost just as much as they won. And this season they've won 3 times. They're 3-1 right now. So it's hard to, you can take a long view perspective of the Dolphins franchise. Sure. Yes. And then the short-term view is this: look, they're 3-1. They got beat by a team that's had their number for a very, very long time. And like you mentioned before, but if it wasn't Buffalo now, it was New England before that. Right. These guys have been a thorn in their sides for a long time, the Bills. And it's up and down. It's not just Josh Allen. It's Matt Milano, like you said. It's Dawson Knox, like pretty much mossing Javon's Holland head to the ground, when he caught a pass. It's Christian Wilkins not getting into the backfield at all, maybe just one time, and that was that.
And Holland took a shitty angle on Cook's run that it went another 20 yards because he took a shitty angle.
Yeah, Kader Kohu got absolutely torched, and Vic Fangio did not even help that guy out at all. Left that guy on the island. Did not play Xavier Howard against Stephon Diggs, and Xavier Howard has the most reps out of anybody against that player, probably in the league. outside of the cap, the Bills players that play him in practice every week, right? Questionable calls up and down, up and down, up and down. Maybe Mike McDaniel got a little away from got away from the run a little bit after they were up 14-14, or the Bills went up 21-14, excuse me. But this is a look in the mirror moment for the Dolphins right here. Are we as good as we think we are, or are we showing that we're not, and maybe the same team? So it's a big moment for the Dolphins, but they have two get right games coming up, man, and the defense has to figure it all out, because the Dolphins offense carried them week 1 and it carried them week 3, right? And now the defense did not show up in Buffalo, where you need them to play the most. If the defense doesn't show up against the Eagles, against the Chiefs, you're looking at a 5, 6, 7 seed. If you're going to the playoffs, you got to go play on the road.
Why would they show up? They didn't show up against the Chargers either.
Yeah, you're hoping. Yeah, you're right about that.
They made a play at the end, but they were disgusting the entire game. I mean, they were an embarrassment the entire game. The fact that you made a play at the end, at least you did something, loser. But outside of that, you were carried the entire stinking game. So that's the problem with this defense. It's like I don't expect them to step up, because I don't know, can they?
This is this is the problem with the bend don't break defense, right? Because you're gonna have some times where you break. They broke 3 times when Stephon Diggs got the ball in his hands, right? They broke another time when Josh Allen ran it in for a touchdown. And there was another run in there. James Cook scored as well too, right? They can't stop the run either. So you can't stop the run. You don't know which corner should be, guarding the best receiver on the other team. And Josh Allen ran all over you as well again. So this was a bad recipe for success for the Dolphins. It led to no success in Buffalo last week. They're going to play those guys later on this year. They're going to play them in the last game of the season. So that's going to be it all right there, Big O. That's a big matchup later on this year. We'll see what Dolphins team shows up and who's left around that's not injured, and who's playing really well to carry them later on the season. But, they're 3-1 after 4 games. You got to take that, right? And you got 2 get right games coming up here. You can be 5-1 after them. You got to take that. Hopefully you find something from the defense here, but they're going to change, and they're gonna have to improve.
Impress me by beating Philadelphia, and
of
then
course, yeah.
I can start beating the Giants and Carolina. That's not going to do anything for me. It'll be good that you won, because you'll be 5-1, but outside of that, it doesn't mean that you're any good. You're still a fraud. So let me ask you, will Vic Fangio do the right thing instead of the wrong thing when Jalen Phillips comes back and bench the hell out of Bradley Chubb? Make him the third guy, because Bradley Chubb does not deserve to start on this team at all when Andrew Van Ginkel is outplaying him by miles. And at least Jalen Phillips is showing me the kind of motor and, the enthusiasm to get there. So when I get him back from injury, if I'm Vic Fangio, my starters are Phillips and AVG, and Chubb is now going to have to earn more playing time, because I'm not taking Andrew Van Ginkel off the field, bro. I'm just not.
Yeah, why would you? Why would you? There's no reason to, right? I mean, the guy is playing out of his mind right now. And the thing is, too, maybe Andrew Van Ginkel's playing out of his mind because Bradley Chubb is on the other side locking down or holding some people, so there's some room there. Sometimes you play better when other people are out there on the field, man. And I mean, look, I'm not giving the excuse to Bradley Chubb. I've been very, very critical with him.
I disagree with you on this, because I've been an AVG advocate from the second he got here.
Yeah, so have I.
He has been a playmaker whenever you give him playing time. I don't know why Flo didn't give him more playing time, but it just seems like he was always around the football doing something, dude. He has a knack for making plays and being around the football or getting to the quarterback. He has done that from the second he's put on a Dolphins uniform. What they've done to him is limit his playing time, which, by the way, I'm glad in a way, because I almost feel like Belichick would have stole his ass and he would have become a star with Belichick when it's all said and done. I think this guy has, stud material on him. When you watch him, you don't teach stuff like this. Somehow or other, he has a knack to be around the football. And I've been a big advocate for him. I don't know why he doesn't play more.
Yeah, definitely. No, he's a great edge rusher. I remember when he got drafted by the Dolphins, I was looking around in the room like, who is this guy? You put on the film, you see some glimpses. You see him in Brian Flores' defense, and he shined there. I remember one game in particular, he had a touchdown from a fumble recovery, and just shows to the knack of just being around the ball, like you mentioned, right? This year, he's played amazing. He's played really well. He's taken the most of his opportunities. Even Vic Fangio tried to put him on inside as inside linebacker when really his best strength is edge, being an edge rusher. So look, Vic Fangio has a lot of things to learn about this team. These guys on defense have played a lot of ball together already, right? And I think Vic Fangio maybe takes a step back after this Buffalo game and realizes I need to put some things in this game plan, or I need to figure out how to position my players to have some success for some things that they've done really well in the past, right? It feels like Vic Fangio came in and tried to just install his new scheme, which is understandable, yes, but also it doesn't really feel like Vic really looked at this defense the last 2 seasons like we have and seen, okay, I know where I can win or lose with some things here. But getting back to the Stephon Diggs thing, that was very egregious on his part. After Cato who got torched for the first pass, right? You're like, okay, when's the change going to happen? Then the first touchdown, you're like, all right, well, how long does this continue? Then there's the second touchdown, right? And then you're like, all right, still Kohu in the mix. And then there's a third touchdown where Kohu can't even finish a tackle, but he has his hand on Diggs. And Brandon Jones comes over and does absolutely nothing. And Diggs comes over and wins the possession again. And at that point, you're like, all right, when is this going to happen, right? Why isn't it happening already? Why does Stephon Diggs have 3 touchdowns in the game and has affected the game so much more than Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle did together? So look, this is a real look in the mirror moment for the Dolphins, especially their defense. All those guys have to really look in the mirror and see what they're about and who, if they are who they really are. It's time to step up and be the person and player that you want to be. And if you think you're, this much or should be getting paid that much, you should be playing like it. Christian Wilkins was in the backfield once, and that was after Van Ginkel sacked Josh Allen, and he wanted to go, talk some smack to Josh Allen. The rookie O lineman that the Bills had held him in check the whole game, right? Right. Van Ginkel was the best defender. Who else was second best? You can't really say anybody else. Really, David Long is overrunning James Cook in the field. Javon Holland's getting his head smacked down to the pavement by tight ends. Agba is nowhere to be found. Chubb is nowhere to be found. Xavier is on the other side of the field doing nothing because he's not guarding the best player. It was a really, really bad performance by the defense, and all those guys got to get right in these next 2 games for sure.
Fangio's standing there going, okay, he probably didn't even think. So they're avoiding X. Maybe I should put X on X. It's like, it's just.
Even Gabe Davis scored a touchdown in that game, and you're like, all right, well, we got torched by both receivers.
Listen, I did the craziest thing last year in defending Josh Boyer because I truly felt that, the defense really never ended up costing them a game last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it wasn't perfect, and I know their whole secondary was injured, and he had to kind of work with smoke and mirrors at times and all that. I know he wasn't perfect. I know he was young and inexperienced, and he had to learn things and all that. But, the 2 games that the defense was terrible was the Detroit and the Baltimore games. And yet, they were terrible for only a half. In the second half, the defense did shut them down, and then the offense did their job, got back in, and won the games. But in most of the other games, the defense never got trounced like it did on Sunday. The most screwed up part is I was all for the change. I wasn't about firing Josh Boyer. I was more about firing the special teams coach, to be quite honest. Not Josh. I didn't blame everything on Josh Boyer because of all the injuries and everything that went on and his inexperience. I felt like you had to have a little bit more patience with him. But if you can get Vic Fangio, of course you fire Josh Boyer if you can get Vic Fangio. But 4 games in, bro, the most screwed up thing in the world, I have to tell you, Josh Boyer did more with less than Vic Fangio has done so far.
Look, I don't Yeah, I don't
That's
disagree with your point, Big O. I think there's something that you're not remembering with this point, and is that Brian Flores was here since what, 2019, 2020, right?
yeah.
So it's Brian Flores defense for 3 seasons, and then Josh Boyer takes over in the fourth season, right before he got let go. That's 4 seasons of playing in the same scheme. That's 4 seasons of all those players learning the same thing and using the same techniques and playing cover zero and all of that and having success with it at times, right? We've also saw, like you mentioned, the Ravens and the Detroit game with Josh Boyer as the first, time play caller, right? And he is, the first, that was what, the first month of the season. Every
Yeah.
time this Dolphins defense plays in a season with a new defense, we saw it first year with Flo too, when the Ravens came in here and Lamar Jackson threw up what, 5 touchdowns, something like that.
Yeah, but
It takes a while
that's
for the first. I understand, but it takes a
estimate.
while for a defense to get the ins and outs of how they play and learn how to play a scheme. This Vic Fangio defense is going through the same thing right now. It was never going to be perfect in the first month of the season. You're hoping for some more perfection in the coming weeks. And this defense, after like week 8, week 9, then you're going to see everybody kind of come together and play the roles and kind of fill it as it's going to be filled. But this is a wait and see approach, man. You got to have some patience with this defense because it's the first year of everything. Just
With
like you had
X,
some patience with Mike McDaniel's offense last year.
but X on Diggs.
Yeah,
That's not a
that's an egregious call. That's an egregious call. But overall, even if X was on Diggs, Diggs was still bound to score at some point in that game, right?
live with that if it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it also could happen that, like Cam said, that if you at least put X out there on Diggs, maybe Josh Allen holds off a little bit and says, "Damn, dude, I better be perfect, or if not, X could steal this. Let me go
Josh
to."
Allen ain't saying that. Josh Allen is not saying that. He's been kicking the Dolphins' ass for how many years, man? He ain't worried about Xavier Howard. He's
No,
played against him
you,
plenty times
he,
before and thrown the digs, no problem.
no, Safid, that's
It
wrong.
just gives the Dolphins the best chance. Xavier Howard gives the Dolphins the best chance on Diggs. Yes,
He's
but
going to
Josh
think
Allen ain't afraid
twice.
of him.
No, but he's going to think twice about testing X compared to Kohu.
Mhm.
It's just different
No,
against
for
Kohu.
sure, for sure. There's a green
It's
light all day with Kohu.
Yeah, it's a free for all. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. You're
yeah,
not. You're gonna think a little bit more against X. You're gonna be a little extra cautious against X. It's only normal that you would do that because he has intercepted Josh Allen before.
yeah,
So
sure. But I
so
think what you're saying, it could be a little bit overstated for Josh Allen.
okay,
When
all
you've
right,
been
that's fine.
when you've been taking this team up and down the field for 12 games in the past 5 years.
I get it, but I still would have at least lived and died with my best going
Me
against
too.
that.
Me too. Me too.
You know
No, we're on the same page with this.
that you can't that is so irresponsible on his part, and to me it's just you got to adjust when you have I get the scheme you have, but you can't force your players onto your scheme. You
Hmm.
also, as a coach, have to adjust because since look, we know Ogba doesn't fit this scheme. Brandon Jones probably won't fit this scheme. What's it called? The linebacker 55,
David Long,
Baker,
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 Jerome Baker.
Baker doesn't fit this scheme. So I know that there's going to be certain players that aren't fitting this scheme, and eventually they'll be, weeded out. I get that. But
Hmm.
it's your job to then adjust and try to then maybe change a little bit of your scheme to help fit the players you do have so you can get the best out of them. And I don't see him doing that. And that to me is
That, that's
egregious.
that's
Feel your
that's what the next 2 games are for sure. I would agree with you on Ogba. I think I'm waiting to see a little bit more on Baker and Jones is just not healthy yet. He's not
You
healthy
need
yet.
you need thumpers in the middle of this defense, and
Hmm.
he is not a thumper. He is not a guy. He's going to get lost in the traffic in the middle every single time. He can't shed blocks. It's not who he is. He's a weak side outside linebacker that you could use in pass rushing
And then yeah.
and in coverage, he's really not that good. Actually, he's not consistent enough in coverage, to be quite honest. I was watching him over the years. I know that that's what he has athleticism, but he just doesn't bring it. Your thoughts on the passing game and what happened? They were very, I mean, they were on top of it, dude. They were on top. McDermott just did a hell of a number and having people deflect passes and be very alert from from screens to everything else. They were on top of everything, dude.
Yeah, look, the Bills defense is still one of the best in the NFL, especially after slowing the Dolphins down on Sunday. You look at the tip passes that happened at the line; those weren't happening the first 3 weeks of the season for the Dolphins. So even when you have a tip pass, kind of wondering, Tua's gonna throw off Tua as soon as a tip pass happens, right? That's lesson number one. Number two, you have Matt Milano in the middle, man. He's one of the best linebackers in the NFL. He's been a thorn in the Dolphins side for the past couple of years as well. But he's been doing that in the league for a long time as well. And then you look at the back end. Look, they didn't have Jordan Poyer, but Micah Hyde came through with the interception on Tua. It was the right place, right time. Bad pass by Tua, horrible pass actually. The Dolphins did not respond well after Teron Armstead left that game. So we already know what's going on with Armstead. Mike McDaniel said is going to be, not days but weeks for him. He's not going to play this week. It's going to be a little while for him to come back. It's going to be like the beginning of the season all over again. Are you encouraged by Kendall Lamb in the first 3 weeks before Armstead came back? Yeah, for sure you are. And
Yeah,
I
he
think
played
when
well
you're
yesterday too. He only
yeah,
gave up a sack because he didn't switch with the guy that came across from the other side of the field, the
mhm,
pass rush. I think it was Epinesa maybe. I forgot who it was that got the sack, and that was
yeah.
his only mistake. He was encouraging yesterday actually overall.
Mm-hmm. At Panessa, that was a guy the Dolphins would have liked to have in the draft, and I think he went to Buffalo before the Dolphins pick. But yeah, man, that defense is really tough to go against. They're gonna have to figure them out. They got 18 weeks to figure them out, or at least 3 months before they see him again. But for the Dolphins standpoint, you're hoping to get Connor Williams back. That will be really, really helpful because Liam Markenberg was serviceable, not great. Granted, it was his first game playing center in the NFL.
Sure.
It was gonna, yeah, it wasn't an ideal at all situation for the Dolphins. But this is where I was spoke about with you last week and how the Dolphins looked so great in 3 games is that the offensive line was steady. You had Kendall Lamb, you had Connor Williams, right? You have all your star receivers. You have your best tight end in the game. Julian Hill was not coming in off the bench. So you had all 11 that you've been going with since, all of training camp. And that continuity carried over, but it kind of all fell apart in Buffalo. And the crowd noise did not help the Dolphins as well either. Look, the Dolphins have a tough road, like you said. Going to Philly is going to be a tough game. In that stretch too, Philly, Patriots, Chiefs, and then that's the first half of the season. So, who knows what the record is going to be at that point? But they got to get these 2 get right wins here. They got to figure out themselves on defense, and it's up to them to really make the changes that they need to make to keep their good record going right now, continuing.
Final question: Cotton Olave. What the hell do we know about them being centers? And where are they and how prepared could they possibly be to take over for Eichenberg as the backup center? And then two, Cam Smith. Um, you know, Kohu probably is better in the slot. You haven't gotten Nick Needham back, which would then give you a lot of strength in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Smith is ideally suited to play on the outside. Again, 3 young guys that could help you, or can they help you, or are they ready to help you? What do you know about those 3 young guys?
Big O, I'm a national writer for USA Today. I know I covered the Dolphins for the past 5, 6 years, man. I'm not worried about second string, third string guys, especially when they're third string guys. Cotton and who was the other guy you mentioned? I didn't even know he was on the team. No, I'm just kidding. I did know. I did know. Look, obviously you're playing the players that you know they're gonna play, and the Dolphins felt like Eichenberg was ready, and so they gave him the opportunity, and they needed to give him the opportunity because he's a draft pick. He shouldn't even be on the bench because of how much they spent trading picks to get him when they did get him, right?
And
So
you hit
you're
on
you're
the money.
hoping
You save Jackson. You can't save Eichenberg, bro.
you can't save
He's,
them all, Big O. You can't save
he's
them
just
all.
it's like the Titanic. It's like our boy. You're just gonna have to float away into the
Float away
water.
in the door. Yeah, there's no room on the raft for Eichenberg,
No room on the top of Eichenberg, bro. That's it. You just gotta come to the reality. We can't save you, kid. We
huh?
saved Austin. Hunt is fine. We move on. You hit on 2 of 3. Let's go. Move
Yeah,
on.
Hunt is great, and that's 66% is not a bad average. But look, offensive lineman draft has been probably the weakest for the Dolphins the past couple years. It did take some time for these guys to kind of turn, like Austin Jackson has turned and played really well. Excuse me. So we'll see how he does. Eichenberger's first game as center, man. I know we've seen some bad blocking in the past from him, but for him to control the snap and the count and all that, I mean that's a lot to ask for a guy who's never played that position before. So I can give him a little bit of slack for that. But the Dolphins are in this position. They don't even have a true center on the team. Connor Williams not even playing center. Now he's been forced to play center. He's not even really a real center. So you just already have a handicap in that position altogether. But they're going to wait for Connor Williams to come back. Hopefully, Jalen Phillips comes back at the right time. He's got that oblique muscle strain that's, obviously going to be troubling for him. You need all the muscles to kind of move around, and Jalen Phillips is a man of many muscles. And when they're on the field, they play really well. Cam Smith, like you said, you're hoping to get some more from him. Obviously, Eli Apple was inactive for this last game, so the Dolphins went in and said, "Yeah, you're not going to be on the field for any of this," which maybe he would have did. Diggs would have torched him too. Let's be honest here.
Did Deshaun Elliott have an injury?
I'm not sure. I don't have the recall on that. But I do.
Yeah, I'm not
sure.
I'm asking.
He was inactive, right?
He was inactive, and like the way Brandon Jones played, you're like, "Yo, Vic, did you make a good decision?" Because if there's no injury, that was another stupid ass decision by Vic.
Yeah. Look, Brandon Jones, I know he's coming back. You know, when you're on the field after a big time injury, the first couple games, it takes a while to get back into the groove of things.
Back against the Bills.
Yeah, I completely understand. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you here too. Maybe Deshaun Elliott wasn't giving them what they needed to give him for the look and whatnot or whatever. But Brandon Jones is, when he's played well, he's played really well. And he just has to get back to it. He just has to get back to
Brandon Jones, but he wasn't ready. You could tell that he wasn't himself out there.
And so you see this with Brandon Jones, and what do you think is going to happen when Nick Needham comes back? And what do you think is going to happen when Jalen Ramsey comes back? These are the guys you're hoping to come back in the secondary healthy and productive. Ramsey's nowhere close. If you think Ramsey's coming back sooner than later, it's not going to happen. He needs some time to practice. Needham has just got back on the practice field, just started cutting and stuff, coming back from Achilles. So I have Achilles for Nick Needham. I have MCL right for Ramsey or meniscus, excuse me, and then Brandon Jones had an ACL. So these are three injuries you don't want to play with for guys that have to cut and make quick decisions and hard hitting moves, and you need them in the secondary to play defense. The Dolphins need to hit the road, man. They hit the waiver wire, see who they can bring in off the street to come and do some things. If you're not confident in Elliott, you're not confident in Jones. But look, Vic Fangio has a lot on his plate with his defense. Bradley Chubb needs to show up more. Christian Wilkins needs to show up more. Jerome Baker needs to show up more. Javon Holland needs to continue doing what he's doing, except for the Bills game. And you're hoping to get some more from Xavier too. Kohu's in a fine place. He had a tough task against him. Stephon Diggs has been doing that to receivers for the past 10 years. So I don't put that past Kohu at all. He'll do a lot better against a lot of receivers in this league, not named Stephon Diggs. So I think defense needs to just figure it out. You got to get right game coming up here, 2 of them, in fact, and the defense really has to show out. They know they have to come to the call and help out this offense.
What do you got going on in the USA today?
Yeah, man. I was at Messi. Messi had an event at InterMiami Stadium yesterday to announce a new kids menu with Hard Rock Cafe. So that's out and about, man. The chicken sandwich is really good from what I've heard. So I'll pass that along to you guys. Messi is great with the kids, man. He's such a shy guy. It's so funny to see him because he's the biggest star in the world and wants none of the attention that comes with it. And he's a worldwide celebrity. This is like, Big O, when you look at the Michael Jordan, Last Dance, and you see him coming off the bus in any country of the world he's in, Michael Jordan, Madonna, you think about the most famous people in the world that people go absolutely nuts for. Messi's one of those people. We have him here for at least another year or so. We'll see. But I don't know if he plays this week, but he's still been great to have the past couple months.
Okay, but you go to that press conference, okay, and you're going to write the story about that press conference. But
day to day, match to match.
Yeah, no, right? But you didn't ask any questions because they didn't allow the media to ask questions. They gave the little kids
Yeah, it
the
was cute. It was
curiosity.
cute.
It
It
was
was
cute.
cute.
What's not
Messi has the best. He has the best media availability of anybody in the country. Patrick Mahomes is like really great with the media, right? You go to any like these Dolphin players and tell them Messi's talking whenever the hell he wants to talk, they'd be like, "Sign me up." No,
yeah,
everybody gets that treatment, man.
oh,
Messi, you
bro.
know the thing with Messi is he's so nice and he doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, bro. And so, like, for him to go out there and say, "Hey, man, I'm not gonna play," like Messi's not gonna do that. He isn't gonna hurt all these people's feelings. I mean, he'll look the other way when they spend the money for the tickets and he's not on the pitch because he's hurt. And at the end of the day, you got to take everything that they say regarding an injury with a grain of salt. Be careful when you spend your money. Inter Miami has what, 2 or 3 home games coming up here, at least 2 maybe this month. If you're trying to go and trying to see Messi, maybe it's not the right time. Next year will be the best time, but
I
literally
wouldn't
after
buy.
next year, don't
I wouldn't
plan
buy.
on anything more in the future.
Yeah. When I would buy a ticket to see Messi, day of game. I'll pay the price. And when I know he's playing, then I'll buy the ticket. And then that's it. I would never buy tickets ahead of time anymore for an Inter Miami game. If you're dying to see Messi, the dumbest thing you'll do, unless you've got cash to spare, then you buy the whole season and then you find out the games he's going to and you show up and then that's it. But the dumbest thing you can do nowadays is buy a ticket to see Messi ahead of time. You're
Mm-hmm.
better off waiting till because you'll buy it and then he's not showing up and you'll never get your money back if you want to resell it or anything like that. So you're better off waiting till they announce that he is playing and then go buy the ticket then at that point and pay the extra
Yeah.
money. At least you get your money's worth and you
Mm-hmm.
see Messi. If not, I would not buy a ticket. And next year is the same thing. Michelle tweeted something out. And so, okay, so you got the CONCACAF Cup, you got the Champions League, you got friendlies, you got the Leagues Cup, you got the U.S. Open Cup, and you got the MLS season. Yeah, good luck with that shit next year. You think
Mm-hmm.
that playing all those freaking games, you're a dumbass. Okay,
Yeah.
because it's not going to happen, and he's going to miss a shit ton of games because he's a human being. And they learned that they overplayed him this month, which I don't blame him. I think we all would have made the same mistake,
Mm-hmm.
except for the 30-minute game. I don't know why they pulled him. They didn't pull him in that one. But anyway, outside of that, that's a huge problem they have, dude, right now. Actually, that's a
Yeah,
huge problem.
definitely. I would advise against buying season tickets because the games you have to sell, you're going to get pennies on the dollar, in terms of
Yes, sir.
value. If you're going to buy a ticket, buy for one of those tournaments, like you said, CONCACAF for the champions, the Club Champions League, um, and maybe you'll be able to get a good one, like you said, by day of whatever. But it's tough, man. You got to take everything they say with a grain of salt. They're not at like the NFL where they have to list injuries and make people questionable, things like that. The best time to buy a ticket is like an hour before the game when you see his name on the lineup, and hope for the best, man. But I would say the first 2 months with Messi here was an incredible moment for South Florida sports, an incredible moment for American soccer, and it's something that we got to cherish, right? It's unfortunate the fallout from it all now, but we will see how it works out next year as well.
I have my goal in life. It just came across the feed here on Twitter. How about that? I now have a new goal in life. Breaking. NASA plans to build houses on the moon by 2040. The homes will be both for astronauts and ordinary civilians, according to the New York Times.
Wow, take you a
I'm
couple
moving.
years to get out there and come back too.
I'm out of here, bro. I'm going to the moon in 2040, baby.
You think they
Yeah.
got Wi-Fi out there, Big O?
Wi-Fi. We got it all out there. Barbecue, all that. I don't have to deal with the Dolphins breaking my heart all the damn time. Okay. Yeah.
How you gonna eat out there, Big O? They're like there's you have the supplies for Cajachina except for the pig.
Well, yeah. No. Well, you know what? We're gonna have to grow our pigs out there. That's all. It's like Noah's Ark. We'll just take
When
a whole bunch of animals with us, and then we'll breed them and all that kind of stuff. So it's all good.
when when you figure it out, I'll come visit you, Big O.
We have till 2040 to figure it all out, bro. Relax.
Plenty of
I'll be
time. Plenty of time.
picking
If only the
plants.
Dolphins defense had enough time.
Yeah. The only thing is you got to weigh your dogs down, and if not, they float away. So you just got to make sure,
You gotta weigh them
weigh them
down.
down. Not Fido is gonna be flying away to the sun. He'll be a flight of Icarus, and he'll burn there in the sun. All right, follow him on Twitter at Safid_Deen. Catch his work there at the USA Today. As always, I appreciate you, Safid. We will catch up later on.
Anytime, man. Have a good one, Big O.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Baptist Health of South Florida, folks. If you have an injury keeping you from doing what you love, take charge of your health and get back in the game with the help of the all-pro staff at Baptist Health Orthopedic Care.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.